there are quite a lot of problems with labor issues in Asian supply chain as well as in the supply chain of other companies. We find a lot of overwork, people working 7 days per week, 12 hours per day, on quite a constant basis, so you can have it for months and months on end. Wages are sometimes not even being paid, the minimum wages, let alone that the wages are being paid as a living wage, so people can actually live on it. Quite a lot of issues around health and safety. People are not getting enough protection to use against the chemicals that they have to work with. Sometimes also they don't use the protection they are getting because the work pace is so fast and they have to complete targets every day. So if they use protection, they might be slower, and people are afraid, that if they are slower, they won't get the target in a day, so they might lose their job or they don't get the bonus. There are also issues around freedom of association, obviously, in the supply chain. In China, there's no real trade union. There's only a governmental union. So in China, it's obvious that there is not a trade union representing the workers. But still, there are also in hardly any company there are other ways of workers to be represented. So there are no committees that have elected workers, for example, and these are all things that can happen in a factory. In other countries like the Philippines or in Thailand, there's a lot of union busting going on, so the unions are not allowed in the factory, or the workers are getting dismissed if they join a union or if they're even a member of a union. So yeah, there are quite a lot of problems around in the supply chain. And so a lot of workers lose their jobs, but also I would say in a lot of the factories there's not so much overtime anymore, which on one side obviously is a good thing, so the workers don't have to work 12 hours per day. From the other side, they don't have enough money to live on, because the salary for a normal working day is simply not enough to cover basic needs. So workers are getting in a very complicated situation in which they will need a job to earn money, but they need also the overtime because the job is not paying enough. But to NGOs, for example, like hotlines that are being established by NGOs. I would say we need real commitment from companies to really make changes. And real commitment is not only talking to international NGOs, but it's also taking local NGOs and trade unions into consideration.
What we're trying to, because I know about the local NGO working on the water pollution issue.
Right. With the efforts,
it's a part of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know much about the local pollution itself.
Right.
That's the problem. Like, of course, the issue is that Asia should be very much looking at the feedback from the ground, from the people, and should be engaged in dialogue. And that's something what is the core of the corporate social responsibility.
Right.
That the companies look not at themselves only, but also look at their suppliers and engage at the place. For example, like here, or there is now upstairs a representative of a Philippine workers organization, which works with the workers in Philippines, with the contract manufacturers for the ACES and on the labor rights there, and pushes for the possibility to organize workers in this thing. But if you want to ask about the details of that particular case, I don't know much about it. That's the problem. So I cannot tell you how bad the problem is or what's the situation, because I just don't know, and therefore I cannot properly comment. I would like to, but just.
So you cannot comment to this.
You know, what I can tell you is that definitely there should be, Asia should be looking at the case and talking to the local citizens and trying to find a solution how to solve any pollution problems which there are. But I cannot tell you how the pollution problems are severe, because I just don't know. We haven't been. For us to be able to comment on something, we have to know enough about it, and we have to have some scientific background on it.
So what's your purpose to this conference? Why are you trying to talk to the experts?
No, what we're looking at with the ACES, actually that's going to the presentation now, is we're asking the companies, and not just ACES, we're asking all global electronic manufacturers to do a number of things. One is to phase out the hazardous chemicals from the production and from the products themselves, starting with PVC and so-called brominated flame retardants. and get them out of the product. Take responsibility for the end of the life, so take responsibility for the waste and take it back from the products globally. I mean, like also in Taiwan, that when you have an old computer, ASA takes care of recycling it, or ASUS or Sony or anyone who puts them on the market, and that they also contribute to the solving prevention of the climate change issue. They commit to cutting down their own greenhouse gas emissions, but also of their suppliers, and that they put out only those products out which are as energy efficient as possible. So this is basically the few issues. Of course, you can say that there are many other issues, but if you would look at each producer, each supplier, that's something which is simply beyond our capacity to manage. When we come across cases like this, by talking to the companies on the global, we're trying to push them also to look at the supply chain, to look at how they produce. That's part of the chemical strategy, because they have to talk to the suppliers in order to get out the toxics. And when we tell them, like, hey, you need to get also the toxics out of the production. This is definitely one of the cases when there is an issue, and they need to work with the supplier in order to, push them to solve any problems. And of course, they have to engage the local group. But that's something which is quite general compared to being able to say there's a problem, because I wish I knew more, but I haven't. But my first time in Taiwan, so I don't know much more about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.